You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. And do I have a treat in store for you? I have Rebecca Adamson here. Yes. Rebecca, if you've ever had anxiety about economics, well, this is the person you need to explain everything to you in terms you can understand and make revolution with. Rebecca Adamson is a Cherokee economist and social entrepreneur who founded both the First Nations Development Institute and First Peoples Worldwide to advocate for the rights and economic self-determination of Indigenous peoples globally, most notably by pioneering the first microloan fund in the United States and creating tools to hold corporations accountable for Indigenous rights risks. Her career has centered on creating new values-driven economic models based on Indigenous principles. In 1980, she founded the First Nations Development Institute to promote economic growth in Native communities in the U.S. and spearheaded the creation of the country's first microloan fund on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, helping kickstart the microenterprise movement in America. And later, she partnered with the Calvert Group to launch Community Notes, an investment product that has since channeled over $1 billion with a B into community development initiatives. Her vision expanded globally with the founding of First Peoples Worldwide in 1997. And this organization provides grants to Indigenous communities in over 60 countries, and advocates for the rights of Indigenous peoples in global policy and financial markets. To hold corporations accountable, she led the creation of the Indigenous Rights Risk Report in 2014, a tool that assesses the financial risks companies face when they ignore Indigenous rights. And it just goes on and on and on with her great accomplishments. This funny little old lady, ha 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 ha. So, I will return in just a moment with the great, just absolute, massive, huge shadow cast by, it's a sunshine shadow, cast by Rebecca Adamson. And I'll be back in just a moment after this brief message. Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMCLive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
My dear friend Rebecca Adamson and my sister board member for the Women's Media Center, and an old friend. I'm so glad. Welcome back to Women's Media Center Live. Welcome back.
Delighted always to be talking with you, Robin.
Well, you know, we did the Native American and Indigenous peoples special series last year. And that was a good success. And so it's not as though we haven't done quite a lot on Indigenous peoples, but we haven't had you back, which is, for as far as I'm concerned, the heart and center and brain of the Indigenous movement worldwide. And so I wanted to do that, and I wanted to just let you loose, Rebecca, with all of the kind of marvelous things that you say about, like, the state of the union or non-union of Indigenous peoples, the economic situation, what should happen, what isn't happening, all of that, and just let her rip. So I get to be lazy this time. All I have to do is listen and nod approvingly and applaud. But I look forward to it so much. So I mean, let's start maybe with Indigenous peoples and immigration, because it's a little hard to deport people to the place that they came from to begin to begin with. So I don't know how they're going to manage to do that, but I'm sure they'll try. But go ahead, talk about it.
Just the way you've opened it sets it up kind of like a Far Side cartoon if it weren't so serious.
I know.
It's like we're from here, and what was their chant in the beginning? Go back where you're from.
Yeah, I know.
And and now they're deporting us.
Yeah, it's like where? Well, where do we go?
It's just or how about you get out of here? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
let's just flip this whole thing because it seriously needs flipped.
Go
Oh
back to
my God.
France. Off you go to Russia. Bye bye now to
Oh, I know.
Germany.
I know. I saw the funniest meme the other day where they had a picture of um, Putin, Trump, and Netanyahu, and it said, "Don't forget, in the past 5 years, 80% of the global violence has been brought by 70-something boomer loser white men, 70-something boomer losers
Oh,
staying out of jail." Yeah,
yeah,
and I just thought that just sums this whole thing up and how crazy it is.
yeah,
But I think in looking at that, what hit me though is like, I really believe most of what we're seeing today has been repeated in our history. Gloria has a saying that goes something like, everything we really need or want has already been here, but so is everything we hate and destroy
yeah.
been torn
History.
apart
What do
in
they
the
say?
history.
They say history rhymes. It doesn't necessarily do strict rhyme, but it rhymes. It comes very close again and again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Go
and
on.
well, what we talked about before setting up the interview was about just what's behind it. And it's this business expansion, and it's only going to get worse with climate change and the simple fact we're running out of habitable land and we are using natural resources in an unsustainable way. But as you trace it back, I kind of wanted to talk about what always think is key in this, and that's Indigenous people's history
Mm,
with the colonialism.
mm.
And when you look at immigration, it really is a stark story. Now, there's anecdotal, like Frank Stars comes out, is the chief and CEO of the Oglala Nation in South Dakota. Well, he had to make an emergency trip up to Minnesota to do tribal IDs to help keep Native people out of detention centers.
Oh my God. Oh,
It's just they had already arrested 4 Indigenous people in Minnesota, had them in a detention center, and then the tribal nations really started rallying, and 60% of Native people are in urban areas. And so when you look at Minnesota, you've got tens of thousands of Native people,
of course.
and and they've been arresting us left and right. There's a community called Little Earth. They went in, broke into the families' homes and arrested 5 Indigenous people. And what's
Where
happening?
are they sending them, Rebecca?
I they take them to the local detention, and then they actually are looking at deporting them. We've had a number of protests. We've had tribal chair people jumping in their cars and driving hundreds of miles to get the application for
Ah,
tribal IDs up to Minnesota Indigenous people. They're trying to get the formal IDs as fast as they can, just driving with the forms and everything, the
yeah.
printer and everything in their cars.
This is
And
insane. I mean, this is really psychotically insane.
it is. I mean, it's just, and then here's one isolated story. Probably a well-known Indian actress that we know, Elaine Miles, who was in recently The Last of Us, but everybody might really know her by Northern Exposure.
Mm-hmm.
She's Umatilla out in the Northwest, and they pulled her over and they arrested her. And when she gives them the tribal ID, they say this is fake. So they even reject the tribal IDs that are proving
That
we
you
are.
are who you say you are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This
And
is
what's happening on a larger scale within this government then It was in 1924 that the actual Indian Citizenship Act was passed, which forced us to become citizens, but it
Right.
also set aside a dual citizenship so we could stay Indian and be US citizens,
Mm-hmm.
something that we're really pretty proud of at this
Mm-hmm.
point. And we've
Yeah.
earned this right. Well, now under the Trump administration, they're introducing the Exclusive Citizenship Act, which
Oh.
bans the
Uh-oh.
duality.
Uh-oh.
So,
Oh.
yeah, exactly. You can see what's coming
Yeah,
in
of
this.
course, of course. So you have to choose in one or the other.
Yeah. And
Uh,
so we choose assimilation or we choose non-citizenship.
that's right. That's a hell of a choice. Yeah.
It absolutely. And what's behind it? Again, the circle here is what's behind it is 56 million acres of resources that are tribal land. So the minute they can reject our Native
Wow.
American citizenship and we become American citizens assimilated,
They're
they
on it.
have access to that land.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
that's, yeah. And that's what's coming.
Where is this land?
Pardon?
Where is the land?
Well, it's spread. We have, if you look at an aggregate of all of the tribal land,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't including Alaska, which is a
Oh,
major piece. So
yeah.
you see the oil, you see the timber, you see the water. Like when, and here's where
Ah,
the economics come in. If you go to Montana, it's an agricultural state,
yeah.
and well, and you go to Nevada where they've got lithium, one of the largest, world's largest deposits of lithium. In either place, you need water. You need water to extract the lithium, 300,000 gallons of water per ton.
Mm-hmm.
In Montana, you clearly need water for your
Sure.
predominantly agricultural state.
Right.
Um, Tribes own water rights. And
Ah,
yeah, and so there's like 3,000 water claims in Montana alone. In order to extinguish all of that with the bat of the eye, and these are legitimate claims that go all the way back to the establishment of the reservations.
mm,
When they established the reservations, they set aside usage rights that superseded drought, even. So, even in drought, we are supposed to have first access to that water.
mm.
These are huge natural resource stakes uh,
Ah,
that the government has conveniently figured in one simple policy. It was like the termination era in
sure.
1934 under Eisenhower. Terminate the tribe and then go in and get the forests. They
Right.
started with the large forest reservations. So this Exclusive Citizenship Act is on the books.
Mm.
I can't say that it's been moving right now, but it's sitting there knowing that,
It can move at any point.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can absolutely move in. Um,
Oh my
and
God.
this is behind so much of the history with Native Americans and this continual sense of settlers' idea of expansion and growth and constant uh, consumerism and production.
Right. Well, the whole idea of the settlers and the that they were the first in line, and so there they were. They were perfectly obvious to be the settlers when they weren't, and they were settling other people's land. They were settling Indian land. They were settling. I mean, all of which we've done on this program is itself so horrific, and that of course combined then with the sowing of disease among the native peoples, and so many of them died from
Yeah.
um, typhus and communicable diseases because the Indian people had no natural resistance, and so well, they came from Europe and breathed on the native peoples, and they've died. I mean, it is such a it was a real attempt at genocide. I
And
mean, it just really was.
I think we can clearly say it's not about immigration.
It's yeah. You think, honey? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to do sometimes but laugh about this because most of us who are reading the fine print and even some major headlines know this has not been about immigration.
No.
But But when you really look at the history of our relationship with this government as Indigenous people, you really get to see the bare bones of what is behind this. And it's not just for us, it's for everyone in the country. And we've been saying we're the miners' canary
Oh,
in
you
this.
are. You are. I mean, not for nothing did you kickstart the micro enterprise movement for the entire country, but it started with micro enterprise for funding for Pine Ridge, wasn't it?
Well, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be involved in creating the first microloan fund on Pine Ridge, the Lakota Fund.
Right.
And that, so it's like with the miner's canary in the good and in the bad on
Yeah.
this.
Well,
And that,
in that one, has since its launching, has channeled over $1 billion into community development initiatives. But that's not where you stopped.
well, it was interesting. And I was always trying to apply indigenous knowledge, indigenous values in the economy. I must have picked, I keep saying I was in the belly of the beast most of my career on this
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm,
And I went into finance because when you look at an indigenous economy, the goal is to meet the most needs for the most people.
mm, mm.
It's not accumulation and growth, but it's the most needs. So when I got in there, I was on a mutual fund. I was the only Native American on a mutual fund, the Calvert Social Investment Fund. And I wanted to see if we could apply this principle of connecting the big capital now to community. And that really led to Community Notes, which has over $500 billion, Robin,
My God.
going into community. And it's way beyond community loan funds now. It's into community projects and enterprises and community alternative energy success stories. So
Oh, Rebecca. My
it
God.
works.
Yeah,
It
it works. Of course it works. It makes sense. I mean, it's the nose on your face. It of course it works. So
we think
why
we have
can't
so much to offer uh, in both systems design and looking at how you can design well our finance, our economy, but our political, our social, our when you start looking at the distribution that anthropologists have always called sharing, which kind of infantilizes it, we've
yeah.
had some of the most, I know, we're not redistributing wealth or services, we're just sharing.
Sharing, yeah.
And so
Oh,
I just thought, well, I'm going to try this sharing thing here in the finance markets.
well, it was brilliant. It was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, and then you expanded that vision from the United States, with the founding of First Peoples Worldwide, in 1997, 96, 97.
I was not, I am not sure either anymore, but I think it was 96,
Okay.
95 or 96. Well, that was really telling. Because when I started working globally, I mean, I started because I really believed that we had solutions. And as I began working globally and coming into, again, rich culture after rich culture and a brilliance in looking at the systems thinking behind our cultures, I was all the more convinced. But we were, again, circling back to we were under the foot of big corporations.
Hmm.
And we were looked at as very disposable and in the way. In fact, I want to raise a grudge. The Atlantic Monthly
Yeah.
recently did an article with, what was his name? David Froome.
Oh yes, he's a problem.
He's from Canada,
Yeah,
and
he's
his
been a problem.
article was a call to eliminate Canadian First Nations rights because they were in the way of Canada's economic development.
Oh God.
It was that blatant.
Why do people think of him as in any way, shape, or form as a liberal or progressive? I don't know.
I couldn't understand it. I mean,
Uh,
and here's the irony. Several years ago, someone from the Atlantic Monthly called and asked me if I would help them fundraise
mm,
so that they could have a real core piece on Native Americans in the magazine.
mhm,
And my condition was, wow, what a great time, prestigious platform. We could really benefit. And I said,
mhm.
but if I do raise the money, I want us to have a say on the editorial board as
Yeah,
to what story. And they said no. So I said, well, I politely said, well, I can't then do this.
screw
And
off. Yeah.
And then they put these kind of, I would have died of embarrassment had I been had any affiliation with them.
Oh
It
my
doesn't,
God, yeah. I don't know. He was regarded sort of as a right winger, or certainly
yeah.
right of center. And then he came onto the Atlantic, and it was as if he got glossed over by a liberal sheen or something, and people began referring to him as a progressive, and I thought, what the
Well,
hell is that?
what
Um,
the blind spot here, though, and this is what I keep coming back to on being indigenous, is how we're this exotic other without the same questions being applied. Would would
yeah,
their black writers say, yeah, we should go back to slavery too because it's good for the economy?
probably they would.
Oh
Rebecca,
God!
God, oh my God! If you aren't watching them every second, they probably would. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
It's mind-boggling how they
ah,
can't see us as equals and sort of ask themselves the same questions. The double standard that Trump is so blatant about is really buried so deeply in our history.
yeah.
I kind of wanted to go back on the media question with you because
Yes,
I
yes,
think
please.
this is the crux. And I remember when the election campaigns were going and Trump's going, they're eating the cats and dogs. They're
Oh
eating,
yes, yes. This was about immigrants, and of course they were eating
yes,
cats.
and
They're
it goes,
eating. They're eating pets. They're eating your pets.
and the
Uh,
media carries it, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
And it's good clickbait, and so everybody gets it, sees it every single day for about our life cycle of a day and a half at most.
Yeah,
Um, but I want to go back to around 1890, and I'm sure most of your listeners have absolutely heard of the Wounded Knee Massacre, in which 250,
yes,
mostly women and children, were slaughtered by the cavalry.
yeah.
Well, it began in D.C. President Harrison was running against Grover Cleveland, and he was losing in the polls.
Hmm.
And so he began to spread fear to raise his polls about what was the savage Indian and blamed it on the ghost dance, which was just a very peaceful
Oh,
spiritual dance. And so he beat up a froth of fear to where the cavalry was called in to slaughter over the 250 Lakota people based on political manipulation and control of the media. And he won his election.
yeah. I know.
And to look at it that and what we've seen in our media is this constant eagerness and race to spread the fear and monger against other people. I'm looking at the protests. These aren't protesters, these are people protecting the democracy.
Yes, I
And
know.
the way they use the language is, this goes back, the other part was they called this a bloody battle with Wounded Knee. A guy was the main leader, kind of like our Fox News guy. His name
Oh,
was Frank Leslie, and he
mhm.
was really pitching it with these gory pictures and this wanton savagery.
Of
There was
course.
a woman in
Of,
the media at the time, Susan LaFleche, who was saying this is ridiculous, this is sensationalism. And I said, thank the creator. Where are women being united on this? We're always there speaking the truth. We're always there at the front line.
I know. I know. I
And
know.
we see the truth in a way that needs to be out there.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're crying to the wind. I mean, um, I do think, and I've been very, very depressed. Believe me, I've been extremely down since he was elected. But I do think in the last weeks, with the demonstrations, horrifically provoked, dastardly provoked by the deaths in
Yeah.
Minneapolis. Um, but I do think that the combination of what's been happening with ICE and what's been happening with immigrants and what's been happening worldwide and and even the dumbest, Americans don't like it that he goes and he does things in Venezuela, but it doesn't do them here for our kitchen table issues. I mean, there's a real. I think there's a turning. I think there's a. I'm loath to say it out loud because maybe
I know, I know.
the bad fairy will hear me and take it all away. But I think that there is a somewhat of a turning. Like, it's like a big liner, a ship, a enormous ship. How hard it is to turn it in the ocean,
Hmm.
and I think it's like that. It's turning very slowly. God, it's turning slowly.
I
But
feel something. I
but
really
yeah,
do.
yeah, and
Even if you go anecdotal, I've seen Montana and Wyoming folks really doing videos and talking about their neighbors, and this is too much. And I've seen their town halls where they're just very upset about it.
yes, and it's not just the usual suspects. It's not
Uh-uh.
just native peoples and a couple of college kids and some a few radicals here and there waving their signs. It's not. It's these are ranchers and these are sort of settled community people, and I think that's an interesting shift, however subtle, however slight it is, because if we could. Oh, build on that. I mean, it would make such a difference. It would make such a difference. Um, I mean, you're the one who led the creation of the Indigenous Rights Risk Report in 2014,
Yeah.
and which assessed the. Wait a minute, let me get it right. The assesses the financial risks that companies face when they ignore Indigenous rights. And we got to get that through somehow to them so that they realize, oh, it's not even in their own self-interest.
Well, it was interesting, this going way back when I first went on the Calvert's board, the way we were the investors that would not invest in companies that polluted or that violated human rights.
Right.
And or it was more like of an environmental and human rights. And when I went on, the way Indigenous people were looked at was under the environment. We were in there with the flora and the fauna. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Jesus God.
you know.
Oh,
And so I created the Indigenous rights screen and investment criteria that then pulled our issues out from the environment.
and you
Um,
said there are people here. Hello.
yeah, it was so funny. I mean, that's a jaw dropper, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it sure
because
is.
this is 1987, 1988
Very late. Yeah.
that I am explaining we are people.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm
you also are the other one. This always brings
and so
a smile of bitterness to my face. You're the one who first said, there's the and also the category of the Indians. They're not completely seen. They're the oh
no,
yes, and also
the exotic other that and
that's right,
that's
the
what
exotic other.
your show gives us an opportunity to really explain how what happens to us, again, the miner's canary, what happens to us, good or bad, comes
Right,
around full circle.
gonna
And we're
happen to
seeing,
you.
yeah, we're seeing this now where your rights are being taken away, your land, eminent domain. I mean, we're going to go take Greenland now and put us in a war. Or,
Yeah, it's just
and we've been saying all along, we have to come back to a core principle. And it, even though I had done the screen, and this is what's interesting, I'd like the listeners to think about this for a future, because at that time, we started because shareholders and asset owners wanted their money to match their values. And as
mhm.
the industry grew, the big guys came in because they saw a market.
uh,
And the money doesn't really match values like it used to. Now we're called woke, but we're called woke because we work. It absolutely the perform and so in my time, what I saw was, hey, this really works. This reduces risk. This is
mhm,
supposed to be what they're all about. You get a better return on your investment and
right.
you get, long-term value creation if you can control your risk and mitigate it. So this is in their self-interest. So it took me 40 years, but working with Wharton, we have now quantified and using AI to move those vast databases around, we can link a company's financial performance directly to its impact in community. And
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
and that's where we're finding there's a 500% higher risk if you don't listen to the community. And I
That's
think this is a key
huge.
piece for all of us because we can't trust our politics anymore. It was me and you, an individual investor, saying we want our values reflected. They're still there, more so with the
Mm,
younger generations coming up. It's a
mhm.
sleeping giant that has been tried to be stuffed down, tamped down. They don't want this sleeping giant awake
No,
because we could
clearly.
control the market in a way that it's over.
How do we activate that? I mean, obviously we need media.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's why I was going back to media is driving me crazy. Robin. It just, it just picks and chooses, and the selective higher ups in media, it's almost like asset allocation. It's their media allocation. So
yeah.
little of it really goes to telling the truth
Oh,
and
I
an
know.
explanation that ties the dots together for people.
I know. I know.
Um, and when you look at this, I'm looking at investor platforms now, but the thing about it is this is interesting because it's in their self-interest. Investors and the fiduciary duty of the boards are to protect and create long-term value. Well, when you have these protests and disruptions, you have blown your long-term value off the books. Forget about it.
Uh-huh.
And they're absorbing all of the losses that the companies incur because the companies don't tell them where those losses came from.
Ah.
So they spread their losses across, well, you got communications, you got legal, you got operations, you got admin, and then this tiny little bit here down is the project losses.
Mm.
But if you total all those up, you're looking at what they call material losses. That kind of reporting isn't done to investors. So we've been trying to it just on your just trying to use the market greed. It's like you guys are losing money for your investors when
Yeah.
you're subsidizing corporate risk.
Are there any good models for this? I mean, are there any um we'll do it like whatever, IBM. I don't
Well,
pick that as a good model, but I mean, I do it like so and so, do it like Apple, do it like this, or but there they were, there they all were. That was the entirety of Silicon Valley, sitting like
mhm,
little happy panda dolls at Trump's inauguration. All three of them, Bezos and Apple,
yep.
and and oh, and the horrible, crazy one.
Well, that's what's
Elon
great.
Musk, yeah.
Right. Well,
Musk.
the short termism, we are now a culture that everything is instantaneous.
I know.
And so these guys look at their balance sheet within a quarter is long term now, 3 months down the road. Oh my God. And yet what we've been able to do in looking at the studies is quantify this risk and show it absolutely, but it's a longer term look.
Well,
It
it's 7 generations,
well, yeah,
Rebecca.
for us it's seven.
Jesus. God.
But even they know, I mean, one of the biggest risk drivers is corrupt governments. They don't
Yeah.
even, I mean, that's why when the fossil fuel guys got together and Trump's telling them to build the infrastructure in Venezuela, they're like, the government's in such a mess right now, we don't want to touch it. You know,
Yeah, that's right. They just walked.
the market has a funny kind of truth in it if we learned how to really use it better. And we really began to, and again, part of it is just our cultural addiction to the short termism and this growth mentality, or
Yeah, if we
accumulation.
were to be a little patient, just a little bit patient, we
Hmm.
we would make such progress. I mean, it's extraordinary how rapid everything has to become. Um, because there's no time then. There's no time for thought. There's no time for process. There's no time. Um,
On a cultural basis, I wonder about it because we have prophecies with Hopi and Lakota and Navajo
yeah.
where they're talking about time speeds up. And at the end, time becomes so fast it becomes dense, and then that's a major sort of seismic transformational point where it flips, and the world that we as we know it no
Yeah.
longer exists. And it
Uh-oh.
does feel like it's speeding up.
Yes, it does. It does. So, well, what happens then? I want to know. I want to know. uh, uh,
They don't tell me. It's just gonna
oh, drat.
it's gonna flip to what we don't know.
Oh boy. Oh wow. I was afraid of that. Oh God. Yeah. It does seem as if, and I think to myself, well, it's because I'm old, and so I think more slowly, and I operate more slowly. But it isn't just that. It whether it's even my smartphone or everything moves faster now, it seems, and it's very difficult keeping up. And I've been pretty savvy with online stuff, but
Absolutely.
not anymore. I mean, not now. Now I'm getting very stupid. I'm turning into a real because it moves at a pace that is not a human pace.
Well,
Um,
and it's not intended to move for us. I mean, the way since
no.
computers have come out, the corporations have used them in a way to bureaucratize us
Hmm.
and treat, I mean, they can manage, it's cash management now. When you look at how, like airlines that price their ticket, they've got these computer systems running so they can do cash management and get you at the right time to raise the cost of the ticket. And at every point, they can now manage hospitals in a way that through cash management, it's not a revenue stream to have any kind of spiritual support there for people in the hospital. So they're able to parse out how we live in such a minute revenue basis that they're changing the way we live in addition to building this buffer that you can't get to them. I mean, if you try to call and say, try
Oh
to
no.
change it, yeah, try to
Oh
change
no.
your utility account. You're on
Oh,
the phone
forget
for four.
about it. Forget about it, kiddo. Oh. n- oh. No, yeah, it's, and that's algorithms that have
Yeah.
detected, uh-huh, damn algorithms. So what can we do about it? What can we do about it?
I really do come back to this sleeping giant, and I feel like it's the same tipping point that you described with where hopefully we are in the United States right now. There's a certain point that people get to, and people, I have seen more and more response from, I don't know all the labeling that we're doing on our next generations, and I think
Right, and it
that's a
doesn't matter.
silly thing to label them. Uh, but I've seen them talking in terms of they don't want a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
They don't even want to inherit their parents' stuff. They want to
Yes.
have a life that's meaningful. I've seen them move to we're going to buy used clothes because we want to take. I mean, these values are
Yeah,
coming back in because in the end, the values and the connections and the relationships are all we really have.
that's true. That's right.
And we're going to have to regroup and come back to community. And we're going to have to, and I think it's actually happening. Um, and I think there's going to be that doesn't mean it's going to happen like with a lot of support. I think there's going to be again, we've got at the top, we're going to have to really look at a new order. And Carney,
Huge resistance. There will
yeah,
be
yeah,
enormous.
there will be absolute huge resistance there. I Davos, the World Economic Forum, talked about
Oh,
a new order, but they talk about it in a way that they want the middle countries to get together and build political power. And I go, that's not a new order. That's just changing the power structure to do the same
of course
thing.
it is. Yeah. Change partners and dance. Yeah. No, it's the same. It's the same. They're so scared of radical change. They're so
Yeah.
scared of daring to step off the edge, of daring to conceive, to even think, to even conceive of something different, really
And that's
different.
where I think, again, go back to women, like in
Mm-hmm.
this story of the media, this Suzanne LaFleche, she's like, no, that's not the truth. They're
Right.
being slaughtered, and this is sensation. I mean, there's women there that hold on to that light, and there's Indigenous people that bring a heritage. And I think if we're going to talk about a new order, we need a new worldview. We can't keep looking at a hierarchy and that power structure. We have to really first look at what is more authentically reality or the truth And then we have to look at new ways of, or return to old ways of relationship.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm working with a group up in upstate New York, the Haudenosaunee, and they're a matrilineal nation.
Mm.
And one couple trips ago,
Oh,
when
the
I was,
Haudenosaunee. Oh, yes, I know of them. I know of them.
right, well, they're the ones that adopted the suffragettes.
Yes, of course. I
Yeah.
know. I know. I know.
And they had,
I love
and you
them.
can look at the diaries, Jocelyn Gage's diary, talking about what it was like to be. It was women could go out at any time, day or night, and be safe.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the problem? There was
yeah.
no. Yeah, there was no. Yeah.
Children were
Uh-huh.
kept safe.
Yeah.
And while I was there, one of my trips, they had removed two of the tribal council members for harassment. Now imagine that.
Ah.
We got how many women with this Epstein thing going on?
Yeah.
200 women isn't anywhere near viable evidence that this is all true.
Yeah.
And yet, when they look at this matrilineal worldview, it's not about them being in the hierarchy. It's about an equality and balance of power, but that this is equal in that this view is, and you take both of those powers and you balance them so what's best for the whole.
Hmm.
I mean, Cherokee, we had a white council, which was the women's council that ruled during all the times of peace, and during the time of war, we had a red council.
Mm.
And the Red Council was actually picked by the Women's Council because they knew those boys when they were growing up. And that was the council that ran during times of war. And you can see balance. What they were
Yes.
deliberately doing was structuring the political system to tap into the best balance for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be done, I guess, is the main.
Well, yes, of course, it has been done. It has been done.
Mhm.
And I don't understand. Well, I do understand, of course, because there's money to be made, and it's in the interest of some certain people. But it still is hard to understand because now the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the
Mhm.
soil that we tread on is is infected with this poison. And so, what do they think? Do they think that their children won't drink water, won't breathe air, won't have to survive in these conditions? Well, surprise, their children will.
Robin, you summed it up completely. It's like, they're predicting a water crisis in 4 years. By
Hmm.
2030, but the way they look at it is market collapse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, boys, when there's no water, it's not just a market collapse.
There's nothing to drink.
Exactly. And you're like, what don't you get about this? And there's this addiction, and I can't describe it any other way. Addiction to what? To money. You
Yeah.
look at these billionaires sitting up there with Trump, what you described, and it's like there's a mental illness there. They're addicted to money in a way that is deathly.
Yeah, I know.
And the drug addicts, they'll go out and just keep going until they kill themselves because
That's
they're
true.
addicted. And that's where we are with this.
That's true.
I mean, no water, you die. No
It,
water, no life.
very simple. Yeah,
Yeah, you're not going
very.
to have a market collapse. Well, you
Yeah,
will have a market collapse.
yeah. You'll have a lot of things collapse. I mean, everything will collapse. So it's amazing.
And they're still doing it. This lithium, I mean, they're trying to sell us this green energy transition based on a sustainable future.
Mhm.
And they're using all the water to get there. And they're extracting these essential minerals for this green future in the same way they extracted all the lethal fossil fuels. It can't be done. And yet they completely deny the absolute evidence that Mother Earth and geophysics and quantum
Yeah.
physics and everything else tells them.
Yeah, but what we've got to do somehow is I certainly don't know how to do this, but you might, if anybody knows you do, because they co-opt whatever we come up with.
Yeah,
In other words, so we came up with sustainable, we came up with
right.
different values, we came up with micro, we came up with all of these aspects of things, and they slurped it up and turned it into their think.
Yeah.
And off they go with it. And we've got to find something that is unco-optable. Unco-optable, absolutely. But and then, of course, they'll try to crush it, and outright. But at least it will be visible, so that they can't just swoop it up. You know what I mean? Am I being at all clear?
No, it's insidious. I
Oh,
kind of, well, an answer towards just one piece of it, but it's a key piece is the financial markets, and
right.
that would be transparency. If people I mean, even transparency around Trump, he's made
Oh,
billions.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
How corrupt he
this
is
is hilarious. I mean, this is beyond freak out comedy. This is absolutely amazing. The blatancy with which he operates.
and it doesn't get covered that much. Again, he keeps feeding the media they're eating cats and dogs, and the
I
media
know.
keeps
Well,
running.
it's more than I've been worn down, Rebecca. You can tell. I mean, I'm grateful for crumbs. But it's more than it was. I was thinking that just the other day. I was watching the news and I was thinking, just this wouldn't have been on even 6 months ago. Hmm, that's
Mhm.
interesting. And it was it was coverage of a story, but that was not the point of it. The point was the tone, the derision, the contempt with which the anchors were treating the news about him. And that communicates itself to viewers and listeners, I think, very effectively,
Yes, yes.
because they were laughing, um, and rather than think, "Oh dear, they shouldn't just laugh this off," I thought, "Well, that's very valuable because he's being held in contempt even when he's being serious about something." And this was about, I don't know, one of his adventure killing fishermen in little boats in the
Yeah.
Caribbean. Um, and it struck me as a very valuable tool to just take their tone even and run with that. Never mind even what they're saying, but of course we do mind what they're saying, and they're also saying negative things. But it's not the things that we know need to be said, not anywhere near enough. But it's a beginning, I think. You think?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, we have, and it comes again where,
I don't want to just be a ghost dancer here. I mean, I don't want to just be watching nothing. But I think I don't know. Go ahead.
but Robin, it's like how we look at people, and there seems to be now culturally this drive to look down on people.
Mm.
And to not and to continually be in this situation where discounting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that zero sum. If they get something, I lose something.
That's right.
And that's such a non-spiritual way. I mean, that's sort of like the Death Starship kind
Yeah,
of
it is.
thing. And when you look at the worldview with Indigenous people, when you get all the way back to the worldview of however they've organized, it starts from a point of abundance,
I know.
and it looks at creation, the abundance of creation, and so that let's okay, we're going to run out of fossil fuel, but there's wind and solar. There's a creative force,
Yeah,
and it's in nature, and we're part of nature.
and it keeps replenishing itself, and it keeps
I
building
mean,
itself.
yeah. Well, as we're on the here, there's enough to go around. We could take care of everybody. That's not even the problem.
Right.
It's that three people own way over half of the U.S. economy. That's the problem. And again, it's that we're not good at sharing. Call it whatever you want.
I know. Yeah, this is
Our
not.
whole economy has taxes, and and then they ship off seas, and so that they don't even have to pay taxes.
I know.
They just don't want to share. And there's written stuff about the gift economy. I actually think it's an intrinsic part of being human. I have seen so much good and caring and interconnection. And And it's mostly in communities. And I think that's where we're going to find this transformational piece is going to be in people who are out there trying to figure out how to live in this now.
Yeah.
And they're building their relationships and they're building their community. There's an increase in intentional communities nowadays. I'm
Yes.
seeing, and just what you said, what we're seeing now towards this immigration issue is community coming forth. You're seeing communities really coming back together.
That's true. That's
And
true, Rebecca. And they kept using the word over and over and over and over in terms of Minneapolis. Everything was about community. What we're organizing on a community basis, but the community says, but the community feels, and it was a total, it was a different way of perceiving and articulating um, togetherness. I mean, it was unheard of in America, and I think that's a difference.
And I think you put your finger on if they were to look at a couple ways of where we began, being in finance, I say about values with our money, but I
Right.
also think day in and day out, it's about community. From what you're saying, from what we're both seeing,
Yeah,
community is where we form those relationships.
that's right.
And it
Yeah,
needs to be treasured and it needs to be deliberate and intentional in a way that we lost sight of.
yeah, yeah. We've got to get that site back. Got to get it back. Oh, you are so wonderful. You are just, every word that drops from your lips is gold. I mean, well, it's not gold because gold is a dead
Yeah,
thing, but
right.
it's food. It's mana. It's sustenance. It's lovely. It's lovely. Thank you, my dear. Thank you for everything you do and everything you are, and for being on the National Women's Media Center board, and for being my friend, and just for being Rebecca.
Well, this is a gift for me to start 2026 with Robin Morgan.
Oh, fiddle-dee-dee, she said. But it's a gift for me, that's for sure. Starts me on the right foot and with hope, which is a
Absolutely.
good thing to
Robin.
have, very good thing to have. I love you. Take care of your dear self,
I
okay?
love you and thank you so much for what you do.
Oh, thank you. We have to take a short break here, but I'll be right back. Don't go away. The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Bloomberg Philanthropies announced a recent initiative for private funders of the new Protecting Our Planet Challenge. They announced a $5 billion commitment to protect and conserve 30% of the planet by 2030. Sounds good, but exclusion also is a form of exit. Those are fighting words. Indigenous peoples represent 5% of the world's population and 90% of the cultural diversity. Indigenous peoples have traditional territories that span from 20% to 30% of the Earth's land surface and is home to 80% of the planet's biodiversity. But not one single Indigenous person was involved in planning, participating, or directing this initiative. 30 by 30 is being done to them, not with them. And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on social media at The Robin Morgan. You can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net, and you can find my new novel, Parallax, and my just-out new book of poems, Harvesting Darkness, wherever books are sold. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer, as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer for this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time on Women's Media Center Live.